Hey Jay,
Hey.
we're back with a new
We're
season.
back. Exactly.
Yay! And if
Yes.
you happen to be watching us or seeing a clip,
Yep.
things look a little different here in the IGG studio. Look at us.
Yes. The studio has been rehabbed,
Yes,
refreshed.
yes.
Yeah, I love it. I love the green.
So we're in chairs. We're not sharing a couch.
Yeah.
It's all very exciting things.
Yeah, still close though.
Still close by. We're gonna kick off this season
Mm-hmm.
with talking about something that is probably one of my most favorite things in the whole world to talk about.
Yep.
It's getting unstuck.
Yes.
Now, we're breaking this into 2 episodes because we really thought about the importance of the psychology involved in getting unstuck.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't live in a society that conditions you in a certain way when it comes to achieving your goals or, getting to that next level or changing something in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I can't uncondition all of that from you and then go 2 seconds later, here's what to do.
Correct. Right, exactly.
So we want you to be able to have one episode to sort of like unpack the stuff you have around this process, which is just going like, for some reason, the things I'm desiring or the ways I want to feel, I can't quite get to them.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't even know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
But something feels off. Like what you do then, because especially if you are in your 40s, like Jamie and I are,
Sure.
you lived through the motivational speakers of the 90s.
Yep.
So you have a lot to unpack because most all of that was more harmful than helpful.
Yeah, and you're living now in a world where you just see sound bites of like motivational speakers of people telling you what to do and what to change, and no one's talking about why. Because you actually have to do the work for that. You can't put that in a sound bite.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like we always say, there's also no 10-step program.
No.
I mean, can you use a program to like follow steps? Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've explained this before and you've explained this before.
Right.
If there are things like that, that's great, but they have to be like saying to you, do this in your way. Find how this feels. Like it can't just be this is the one way everybody does everything.
No, and the part that everyone skips is this first episode is like the why, the what's behind everything. That's actually where all the good stuff is. That's
I think
where
so.
we even understand why are you doing something. You can't change something. You can follow all the 10 steps in the world.
Yes.
But if you don't know why you were doing something or why whatever, it's not going to matter.
It's not.
Or it's only going to work for like a month.
You're going to be really frustrated.
Correct.
And it's also not about getting it perfect and then doing it.
No.
It's literally, that's why I wanted to use the word unpacking.
Yep.
Right? Because it's literally like bringing awareness to things you didn't know about yourself and being able to have that information as you move forward into things.
Yes.
So if you've ever felt stuck, which I think you're fibbing if you don't feel stuck like cyclically during the year, because I think that's just part of how we operate. Yeah. Or I hear some people say like they feel lost. Same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. What you are saying is I feel desire for something different, and either I can't see what it is, and I'm saying see because I'm obviously clairvoyant. True. See our episodes on the clairs and learning styles and all of that. But maybe you can't feel what it is yet, but you just know this. I'm not desiring the states I'm in. And maybe you don't see what that looks like. Right. Or maybe you do, and you just can't figure out how to get there, or you can't get out of your own way. Yeah. So this is where we need to start.
This should be a master class.
Yeah.
This is what you are known for teaching. This is your jam.
Well, because what this is the study of my field, which is how do intuition and ego, also known as desire and fear, operate in a human being? Like, how does it affect their human behavior? Right. That's what I study. And that's what this is. Like, if you're stuck or lost or like not feeling the ways you want to feel, it's because of something with those things. So for me, it's like, tell me all about it. Like, that's why I'm not great at small talk. But as soon as you start telling me stuff that's not going well or the dreams you have, it's like I get excited because now we're talking in my area of the world. I think you're similar, to be honest. But
Agreed.
Okay. So I also think it's important to just, I think I've kind of said it, but I want to say it with different words because I can't stress how important this is.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, feeling kind of stuck, it doesn't just mean you have a goal that you can't reach.
Yes.
I think that more often it means I don't know what my goal is. I don't know what direction to move in. I feel kind of stagnant where I am.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel inspired. I think that's how it shows up more often.
100% agreed.
No, are there a lot of times where you're like, I have this goal, but I can't quite get to it? Yeah, but to me, that's like it's like an offshoot of this issue.
Yeah, I don't think that's as frustrating actually as not even knowing where to begin.
I agree.
Yeah.
That feeling is a part of the human experience.
Right.
Like I said, I think we feel it cyclically during the year. And I think if you study astrology, see our many episodes on those, you can sort of see it's bigger than us.
Right.
I think like the human condition, you're supposed to feel like you want to go, go, go. And then you're supposed to sort of retreat. Like I think when I say supposed to, I just mean like by design.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of shame, which is going to lead me into our next part, around that like stop and feel stuck spot.
Yeah.
But I think that's normal.
No, I think that's actually just part of that's part of the path.
Right.
Is like getting stuck along the way and making adjustments and like troubleshooting as you're going. At least you're on the path though there.
True.
This like stuckness feeling is like you don't even know where the path is. You don't even know how to start the journey or like the goal or whatever.
It's depressing to feel that way because
frustrating.
Frustrating is a great word. And especially when you're really motivated by growth. Okay, so you look at the human desires, right? Mm-hmm. If growth is higher up on your list, that's going to feel really difficult even on your nervous system because it's like this is part of what keeps desire moving in my body.
Right.
So I thought we'd start by really talking about the toxic elements here.
Okay.
Because in order to tell you what to do, I have to, or present you with some ideas that might work. I think we have to stop and go like, this is the stuff that's hurting you that you already think. And you're going to fight it the whole time you're doing this. But if you're aware of it, it's a lot easier.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anything based in shame is not going to work.
Correct.
And most everything I see for programs or things that say like, here's how you get from point A to point B, or, build a business or find love or whatever, make $1 billion. It's like, let's start by being really shame-based.
Yes. I mean, the thing is that shame will work. Temporarily. Like if you shame yourself into starting something, or like if you're having negative self-talk and you're shaming yourself about like starting on a diet or like starting anything like that, it will work. Like you'll push yourself and it'll start. Yeah. But that programming, that narrative is only going to then drag you down. Oh my god. Because that voice is so nasty. Like it'll kick you off the starting line. Yep. But it'll also like drag you back down. And the consequences of using shame as a motivator to your whole system, to your life, to everything are going to show up real quick. And now you're in more trouble than when you started. Right, because shame is so like, it's so efficient and you can use it anywhere actually. It's really like shame is great in that like you can use it to motivate yourself. You can use it to shit talk yourself. You can use it for anything. Yeah. It's really like versatile. It really is. But the end goal with shame always is you being stuck. Always. And probably worse off. Correct. Because then that voice gets louder. That shame voice is louder and louder. It's nastier and nastier. Yeah. Yeah. I think of the show The Biggest Loser. You love that show. I love to hate that show, yes. Because it's such a perfect example. Yes. It's like this weird microcosm. Like, yes. And it's like
you'll lose.
You're going to lose 150 pounds.
Yeah. But as soon as you leave this environment, you're going to feel worse about yourself. Your health is going to tank, and you're going to add all that weight on plus more.
All back.
Because you didn't look at the desire. You didn't look at the emotions, which we'll get to. You didn't look at the thing that you actually can use to maintain change in your life if that's what you want.
Yep.
And so when you do that, it always ends up worse off. It's a very temporary fix with very high, terrible consequences.
Yep.
So here's the thing to add to that, though.
Mm-hmm.
Most every system you've ever been in your life has taught you to use shame this way.
It's true.
So it's not just about going like, oh, thanks, Heather and Jamie. I understand that concept. I won't use it anymore.
It's everywhere.
Bad news, baby. You're gonna have to fight it all the time because literally since you were a very small child, you have been conditioned. And I believe this to be true about many cultures, but I just want to say I'm speaking about American culture in particular. Mm-hmm. But so like correct me if you're like, I actually grew up in a culture that wasn't shame-based. Please,
I'm happy for you.
Please call us and tell us about it.
Please.
But for the most part, most of the systems use that. And so to just go, okay, great, I won't use shame. No, you will use shame. It'll keep showing up and you'll keep being aware of it and you'll keep going, oh, there's shame.
Right.
Let me do some digging here of what's going on.
But the starting point is knowing it in you and in your life so that when you're in a doctor's office or you're in a classroom or you're in a work setting and you feel that narrative of shame coming at you.
Yes.
You don't slip right into it. Mm-hmm. You recognize it, and then you can start working around it.
I feel like shame is a bastard. Mm-hmm. What I gotta say, one of the things that's like a saving grace for shame is that once you become aware of it, it's real easy to tell when it's in your body.
Yes.
It is like...
Yes, it feels...
It's palpable.
Yes, it has a very distinct feeling.
Yes, and even if you're not someone who's like, oh, I can feel my emotions really easily, I bet shame would be one you could learn quick.
Oh, it feels nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about it before, like I think in our frequency episode. Yeah. But like shame has the lowest resonance of all emotions in the human body. So
guilt and shame.
Shame is
cousins.
Like right next to death.
It's
literally right next to death when you measure it in the body.
Yeah.
You're almost dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the thing about shame that is a redeemer.
Right.
In that like it's not like, okay, I got to give up because I'm never going to beat shame. It's not about beating it. It's about noticing and doing something different with it, like changing the pathway your brain travels when shame hits you.
Right.
And going, "Ooh, why is shame here? What's going on?"
Yeah, I mean, and not to be too like corny and cliche, but like all feelings are valid.
Yes.
Like you're allowed to feel shame.
Yeah. Well,
like that's okay. That's a great indicator of like what's happening in your body, in your nervous system, in your brain, and your life. Like it's okay to feel shame.
Yes.
It's not okay to let it like drive the car of your life.
That's the whole thing. I mean, I think you've talked a lot about how like there aren't certain emotions that are better than others.
No.
There's no like moral high ground to any emotions, right?
Right.
Like they're all very valid.
Yes.
But when you have been taught to use shame in this very certain way, it's very difficult to go like, that's not how I want to use it now. Right. So that's what we're telling you to do. Yes. Shame's along for the ride the whole time. I don't care who you are.
Agreed.
If somebody's telling you that's not the case, they're a big fat liar.
They're trying to sell you a 10-step program.
If they're like, I don't have any shame in my life, like I don't think that's right. Yeah. Okay. This is something that you have said before, Jamie, and you were in my brain when I was writing the notes for this part. But I also see it when people tell me I'm going to use the word goals, even though that's not my favorite, but I think people know what I mean. Like, hey, what do you want in life?
Right.
What are you going for? What are we after here? What are you desiring? People will actually feel shame for the fact that what they want is not like building a giant business.
Yes.
Or like building something huge. Like maybe what they want is a little more peace. Maybe what they want is to spend more time in their garden. Maybe like it doesn't have to be
fame and fortune.
No, it can be. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Go that, yay. Yeah. But it also can be something really small and nothing you have to build.
No, exactly.
That's capitalism talking to you.
Sure is.
Don't don't listen. Don't do that.
Yeah.
If you have big, giant, lofty goals, I love that for you.
Mm-hmm.
But make sure you also have some little ones in there too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's all about how you want to feel at the end of the day. So if having more time in your garden makes you feel a lot more peace, then that's doing more for you probably than, I don't know, becoming the next reality TV star will.
Right. I mean, you could fight. You could work your whole life to become the next reality TV star or the next whatever.
The next big influencer or viral sensation.
Right, exactly. And then you get there and you're like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
And you actually would be happier if you were just spending more time in your garden, because that's actually what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But capitalism programs us that success looks one way, and it's always tied to money.
Always. Listen, we're not naive and we're not unaware of privilege. Money makes everything easier.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So that's right there up front. Of course it does. But
yes.
it's also not the only thing that's going to bring you what you desire.
Right.
So as long as you're aware of those things, you're aware of like, maybe the reason that you want more money is because you want more security. Maybe the reason you want more money is because you want more power. You want more peace. If you can name those things, you're already so much further ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, and you're still in the game.
Yeah.
You're still stuck in this capitalistic game.
Yeah.
You have to have money.
Yeah.
You have to live and survive. You need money to do that in this society.
100%.
So you can't just be like, oh,
who cares?
A different currency.
Yeah.
Oh, like, no, you need money. You have to survive. We get that. I get that.
Yes.
But like, you also, it doesn't have to be your number one goal in life.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be the next viral TikTok.
No, you can just be like, I'd really love some financial security and like sit there. There doesn't have to be a huge thing attached to it.
Correct.
And again, dream big. I love that. I'm not trying to say dream small only. I'm just trying to say be careful, because spoiler alert, the reason you have desire is because there are feelings that your being wants to experience.
Yeah, and maybe redefine big.
Yeah.
Like you spending more time in your garden.
Yeah.
That might feel really fucking big.
Yeah, because it probably has a big like delivery back, right? Like it pays bigger dividends.
That can be a big goal. Like we're measuring big off of what we've been told is success.
Yes. Okay. I wanna reiterate the fact that the way desire works, because again, our culture has kidnapped the word desire to just be about sex. And where it is certainly prevalent in sex and in everything to do with that, it's also so much bigger and more than that. And so I refuse to use a different word, and I refuse to not say it every single fucking time I get a chance to.
Good.
That desire is one of the main primal forces in your being.
Yeah.
And it has absolutely, it has to do with every single thing that you do. Every single thing you do has to do with desire. You wouldn't get up from bed ever if you didn't have desire.
Right. But think about how disconnected from your own life you are if you feel squidgy every time you say desire.
Right.
So like, because it's been so programmed to us that desire is like provocative or sexy or whatever these, bad concepts are. But like, if you feel that way, you're now cut off from everything in your life that you want.
You're so dysregulated, and not just your nervous system, your energetic, like your body, everything becomes so dysregulated because
you won't even allow yourself to consider desire.
Yes.
You won't even entertain the idea of desire because you think it's like weird or embarrassing.
The same people are like, why can't I get in touch with my intuition? Because that is what your intuition is. It is the force of desire. That is what your intuition is. Because
that's what you're running off of.
Yes, and think about how when we try to explain intuition, where like it's you just know something without like thought. That's desire.
Yeah, you want
I don't
something,
sit and like conjure up that I think if I think this and solve this puzzle, I want a taco.
Yes.
Exactly. I just go, ooh, I want a taco. Like I just happen to know that already. right? That isn't conscious. Then my brain goes like, I don't know if we can get a taco right now.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
you know what I mean?
Figure this out.
Yeah, like
Right.
that's what that is. You don't listen, if it was just driven by logic, if desire wasn't a force, you'd stay in that safe spot all the time. You'd stay in that job, you'd stay in that relationship,
yeah.
you'd stay in that state.
Yeah.
Like, because that's, desire is not present.
Exactly.
But desire is the driving force of your life.
Right.
So I've said this many times, but I love it, so I'll keep saying it. If your life is a cup, fear's job is to protect the cup. And that's what shame is trying to do for you.
Yeah.
It's misled a lot because we're not taught how to handle shame.
Right.
But so fear is protecting the cup, but intuition and desire are trying to pour stuff into the cup. It's trying to have you experience life and feel different feelings and go out into the world. And a lot of people are stuck protecting empty cups, and then they're going like, why don't I feel happy? Yeah. The world taught you to do that, first of all.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's why.
Exactly.
So we have to really work to like not get stuck in the squidginess of that.
Yep. And
to really just go, oh, and honestly, you shouldn't have to feel squidgy about sexual desire either.
Well, no, I mean,
right? But like,
yes. I mean, that's a whole other episode.
I know.
And that's that's the AP version of this class.
Yes.
Like, we first want you just to like be able to feel desire for a taco or a coffee or like, I want this. That's okay. It's okay to want things. Like, and that might sound obvious.
Yep.
But I think there are probably a lot of people listening that actually have a hard time.
Yeah.
Saying, I want the taco, I want the coffee, I want that job, I want that feeling in a relationship. Like the sort of basic things. So like the master class is actually being able to talk about sex and desire and those things. We'll get you there.
We'll get there. Start here.
Right. Start here with like regular desire, everyday desire.
We talk a lot about how words are spells and they're powerful. And don't think that it's not strategy for the patriarchy to make that word something that is shame-based for people, right?
Yes.
So like, that's why it's kind of like these little personal revolutions, and it sounds so cheesy. I'm aware of how cheesy it sounds, but I think it's true that if you just go, I'm just going to keep using the word desire until I don't feel as uncomfortable with it, that's actually so incredibly powerful.
It is.
You can move a mountain with that.
Absolutely.
I don't care if you didn't build a 6-figure business. I mean, I hope you do if you want to.
If that's what you actually want.
But you'll probably get a lot further by becoming more comfortable with that word.
Exactly.
It'd be easier to build your 6-figure business if that's what you desire.
That's how you build the business.
Exactly.
Is by getting okay with desire.
Exactly. Okay. So I also want to talk about how, like, when I say to people, like, what is it you desire? And I do try to use that word, and I do watch people get squidgy. And I do like the uncomfortable couple seconds when they have to deal with that word and figure out their answer. Yeah. Also, that's a hard question to answer. I'm aware of all of those things. It's my job to ask it, but like, also I ask it when it's not my job because I'm that kind of a human. Right. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
there's probably also a lot of things that you desire in different parts of your life. Like, how do you hone down like your top desire?
Yes. What is it you desire? I also kind of sound like things, I'm leaning over a crystal ball and or a genie that's going to grant it for you. Yes. But the thing is that whatever comes to you right away is correct. There's no right or wrong to this. But when you're doing this work, the more and more you bring awareness and the more and more you unpack, what starts to happen is you start in this place where you say things. Yeah. I desire for this podcast to hit 300,000. It will probably before this airs. But do you know what I'm saying? Like,
we're close.
You say a thing. I desire to make this amount of money. I desire to be in a movie. I desire for this to go viral. I desire to be in a relationship, whatever.
Or live in this city or whatever.
Fill in whatever. You say a thing. But the more you do this, the more you start to say a feeling. And then you sort of add the thing you think might get it for you. You see this change. Like, it becomes like, I actually want to feel more of this, you start to say. So when somebody answers that question, I like to see where they are. Because sometimes, I mean, you can read a lot by how someone phrases things. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's like they say the thing, but then they follow it quickly by the feeling. Sometimes they say the feeling and follow it quickly by the thing. Sometimes it's only a thing. Sometimes it's only a feeling. All tells you where the person is in the journey.
Yep.
And so listen to how you answer that when we ask you. Mm-hmm. Like, what comes up? What comes up first? How much shame's attached to each thing you just said?
Yep.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's going to be shame for all of them.
Yep.
But how much? How powerful is it when you do it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, you're conditioned to answer that question with things.
Yeah.
And also to be like things you achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily like states of being.
Right.
So it's going to be hard, is my point.
But once you start seeing, even take one thing and start to decipher what the feeling is behind it, and then I bet you'll find that that feeling is behind all of the things that you want.
Isn't that like the most relieving thing when you're like, I want to change 8 million things about my life.
Yeah.
And then you start to go like at the feelings and you're like, it's the same on all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's sort of like, oh, I don't have to change everything.
Right.
I just have to find these feelings more.
Yeah.
I have to find what's taking these feelings away from me and where I feel them more.
What do you think are some of the most prevalent feelings that people are desiring to feel?
Joy.
Joy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people are desiring to feel joy and desiring to feel more stimulated.
Mine, I would say, is freedom.
Freedom. That's a big one. Yeah. I think what with freedom, one of my favorite things about that is that there's always like a secondary element to freedom, because you go freedom for what?
Right.
And then you're like freedom to feel more joy, to feel more peace, to feel more ease, to feel more power. So I think that freedom is like the perfect thing to be like, freedom's my one, and then my two is this. Like,
me to these.
Yes.
Right.
Because if you're saying like, if I want freedom, that means that I don't feel quite as powerful in this area as I want. Yep. So like follow that thread. Love it. Freedom is one of my favorite words, and I also feel like it gets like wrapped up in like weird patriotism.
I know, and I was just thinking it's so ironic that that's my word, because
you're not exactly
it's
like a
red
freedom
flag
fighter.
When I hear people saying freedom now, it's like been taken over.
Land of the free. We love that. All right. Well, on that note, I think we should take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to just sort of give you like a little mini explanation of how desire and fear are working as you're thinking about what you might want. Okay. We'll be right back.
All right, Heather. I'm going to be a Debbie Downer. Sorry about that, everybody.
Okay. You always say you're going to be a Debbie Downer,
it really is.
But then you say something that is like very validating for other people to hear and talk about. So,
well, this is like the first episode this season, so we're supposed to be like,
oh, we are?
Hey, we're back.
Oh, okay.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. And I'm like, oh, there's still a genocide happening. Did you guys forget? Oh,
yeah.
We forgot.
No, but see, this again is my theory of when you say you're going to be a Debbie Downer, but you're just speaking truth to something that makes people sometimes uncomfortable.
It's definitely.
So I would say you're a discomfort Debbie. Debbie discomfort.
Yes, I'm okay with that, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I like making people uncomfortable.
Same.
For the most part.
I also like making them comfortable again.
Yeah.
But I like to start with discomfort. Okay. Yeah, there is.
I mean, so there is, and like we haven't recorded since May. Mm-hmm. It's now almost September. Mm-hmm. It's Labor Day weekend.
At the time of recording.
And I feel like a lot has actually happened in the political landscape. We have a different Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris, which I'm grateful for.
Me too.
I wish I could be more excited about it, actually.
I feel that way too.
I know we have a lot of listeners who are going to be like, just shut the fuck up, Jamie, and be happy about this. Jesus Christ. And believe me, that voice...
I don't know if we have a lot of listeners that are going to think
that voice is in my head too. Like, we have the first like Black Southeast Asian woman candidate. I mean, Hillary Clinton was a woman, but different in a lot of ways. I really want to be happy about that. And part of me is, but there also is like, we're still in the war machine.
Yeah.
Is like, we're still like, all the candidates are still a part of this machine of patriarchy and capitalism, imperialism, colonialism.
Well, here's your problem. You're very emotionally intelligent.
It's true.
Okay.
That's true.
So where that becomes problematic is you feel multiple things at the same time.
Correct.
So you can feel happy and frustrated. Right. You can feel happy and wish something was like emotions for most people, except that like people who are very low on the emotional intelligence spectrum, which we've talked about many times.
Right.
that it's harder for them to feel more than one thing at a time.
Right. That's why you have to choose black, white, right, wrong, this, that.
Yes.
Right.
So people on that lower level can just, they're like, why can't you just be happy? They're the people who say stuff like that.
Right.
Okay. But emotionally intelligent people,
Right.
like anyone who would want to listen to this podcast, for example,
right.
they can feel multiple feelings at the same time.
Right.
So you can have all of those things, and that makes sense. And there's nothing wrong with you. And I don't think that's being a downer. I think that's speaking truth in a space where people want you to just be one thing.
Right.
Especially on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you mean you don't just do that? Oh, you also do that. How dare you?
Right.
Especially for women,
Yeah.
right? Like, so no, I disagree that you're being a downer. I just think you're voicing what it feels like to be an emotionally intelligent, empathic person.
Right. In this world.
It's hard.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we're going into like this political season. I think it's going to be crazy.
I do too.
I think the astrology of it is really interesting. That could be another obsessive.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It could be a whole episode, possibly.
But yeah, I just think like, just keep your head up as you're going into this, and stay true to like what you feel like.
Yeah. And find the right people that you can talk to about it.
Right.
Find the right people who aren't going to say like, can't you just be happy with anything?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're saying that I love so much is like yucking someone's yum. It's kind of a version of that. It's like invalidating someone's feelings.
Right.
Right. And like there are actual Debbie Downers in the world. You're not one of them. I know them. They're the ones that bring everything down all the time because they always want everyone to feel worse than they feel. Right. That's not you. Right. You're just speaking truth to real feelings.
Yeah. And I think all you have to do is kind of like look outside your life, into the world, and like, you know, like I'll be critical of myself and be like, why can't you just get on board with this? Like, I love Tim Walz. Like, can't we just like, can't we just be fully like, rah, rah, like this whole thing. And then I'm like driving down here and there's like Confederate flags on overpasses. Yeah. Still in Massachusetts. In a blue state. Like,
don't you think the problem is people who are only going, I just want to feel like this? Don't you think that's the whole entire polarization of the problem?
Right. So then it's like, I see that and I'm like, no, I still have to fight this fight because that can't keep happening. That's not okay. Like, you know?
Well, if you weren't doing that, you would just be one of those complicit white women sitting around going like, what more do you want? Look what we have, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're not that.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll just do our best.
Do your best. And like, I'm sorry that you have to go through the world so empathic and so emotionally intelligent. I'm sorry. I'm glad. I'm glad. But I'm sorry because I know that is really challenging. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about how intuition and ego, otherwise known as desire and fear, operate and work together for you as you go through this process. Right. Because again, another broken record thing we say all the time is that like fear and ego are not your enemies. No. Shame is actually not your enemy either. Right. Okay. It's just like you said, that all feelings are valid. Right. So people end up in a lot of the stuff I see for achieving a thing or whatever. All of the stuff that you see is like eradicate fear. And like people have tried to walk that back a little bit, but it keeps creeping back into the things that you say. Like they're treating it as if fear is the problem. Correct. Where fear is not the problem. Your response to fear might be a problem. And I wouldn't even say the word problem. It might just be an indicator of something, right? Like, fear is never a problem.
No, it's definitely an indicator. Yeah, it's definitely like just think of your body, like, or your emotions or whatever's happening. This has helped me in this process. When you feel like you can't manage your own fear or shame or whatever, you need to almost like take a step back in your body and just be the observer. Yes. Right? Like, I'm feeling really happy about this. I fucking love how I feel when I'm at this place, or I'm with these people, or I feel awful here. This feels terrible. I felt so ashamed when I did that. You almost have to take yourself out of it, because your brain's going to start trying to keep you safe and reacting and writing stories. They're just, all of that is just data. Yes. It's just an indicator. right?
Yes.
Like, okay, I felt this way here, I felt that way there. How come? What was going on then? Who was involved? It's like, it's just data.
Yeah, it's like people take that data
Right.
and decide it's like truths about
It's
themselves.
them. It's them.
It's
like,
them.
I'm
That's
this
my
horrible
voice.
person. I'm this crazy person.
Yes,
like,
yes.
You're making it a story about yourself instead of it just being it's just facts. It's just science. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just data. It's just like, oh, here's this piece of information. What can I do about it?
Yes. And I think along that same vein, if you're struggling to pull out of that mindset of like being in it and it being real, which we all do, but if you're there, sort of tell the story as if you're talking about someone else.
Right.
And you'll immediately feel very different. And
Right.
like, that's to me, like the biggest indicator that you have like a limiting belief around that. I saw a thing recently, just a quick aside about that, about people not liking the term limiting belief.
Oh, really?
And the reasons they were giving, I thought were valid. So I figured I would explain what you and I mean when we say limiting belief, because shocker, it's been a little kidnapped by capitalism.
Of course.
Okay. It doesn't mean limiting you from achieving greatness.
Oh, no.
That's what people were like having trouble with. And I get it because some people do use it that way.
Yeah.
We mean limiting you from feeling how you desire to feel.
Yes.
And making it harder.
Yes.
That's what we mean.
Yeah.
And it's a belief you have in your system. That's all.
It's
That's
just
it.
an obstacle.
Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify that because on the TikTok, I saw some people having trouble with it.
Okay.
And I really do believe that like don't use terms that don't feel right. Yeah. So if you need a different one, fine.
A different one.
But that's why I just wanted to define it real quick.
No, I agree.
It has to come from how you want to feel.
Yes.
Okay. But back to what you're saying is that like you have to take that step back. You have to pull yourself out and become kind of an observer of all the data you're receiving and then make a decision and then create a path forward or however you want to look at that. Or maybe it's just sit down for a minute, like get some space from it a little bit and you'll feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Because fear is there to tell you something that's going on, the same as desire is there to tell you that something's going on. So in an ideal system, you would feel desire would come in and you would go, ooh, desire's here. Fun. Love desire.
Right.
It's great.
Feels good.
And you'd be like, what am I desiring? And you would think of feelings and you would think of things that would be all a combination of that. And then in reaction to that, because that's your cup being like, we want to fill up with all this stuff. Yep. Okay. In desire to that, your ego comes in with some fear to go like, hey, these are the ways things we need to consider if we're going to keep the cup safe as we go towards desiring this stuff. Yep. And the vast majority of those things have to do with your emotional well-being. Your physical well-being will show up too. Yep. But your emotional well-being will be the driver.
Yep.
So if you've in your past, like let's just say like you want to get into a new relationship or something, but in your past you've had like 3 or 4 really traumatic, difficult instances where you felt emotionally wrecked from a relationship, your fear is going to have a lot more things to say.
Yes.
And it isn't about going like, well, I can't do it or, I just have to ignore this. It's about honoring all of that.
Right, because there's more data.
Because there's data. What is it saying? What are you afraid of? And then how can you move forward honoring that fear with that fear without it stopping you, but going like, hey, maybe when I look back, like I'm really afraid of like being vulnerable and then losing somebody. That's really hard for me. So maybe you go through it protecting your vulnerability a little bit more with a plan. That's your intuition ego working together so nicely. Right. You know, maybe you want to start a business, but you started a business before and it went bankrupt.
Yep.
And now you're like, I can't go through that again. I don't want to feel these ways again. So maybe you go through it now with a different plan where you put less money out or whatever. Right. That's it working together. That's fear doing its job, going like, we're learning from this data.
Yep.
That's how they work together.
Yes.
Not do this without any fear or none of that. Doing something without fear is clinically insane.
Right. It's not like all desire and then fear takes over and it's all fear.
Yeah,
it's not
like shifting back and forth.
It's not like one at a time. They should be working together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not 50-50.
No.
It's whatever combination it is.
Right. Exactly.
And it's going to be different every time. And if you're trying to make it really measurable and like logical, it's not going to work.
Even just having, I think, an awareness of these two concepts might be new for a lot of people listening. Just being aware of the concepts and understanding that they can work together, I think might be sort of profound for a lot of people, because I think if you look back on your life, you'll realize that there were a lot of times when like your fear was completely in control, like absolutely driving the car, steering the wheel. Everything was like, I mean, I lived my life like that for a long time. Like,
I have
just
plenty
trying
of
to
times
survive,
like that.
just trying to live, like literally just like basic human needs.
Yeah.
I think just realizing that it's an option to bring desire in, or to bring some fear in, to make yourself feel safer when you're doing things.
Yes.
I think that's really helpful, just knowing like how that works, and then you'll start to be more aware.
I think what you're saying is to just shift your relationship with fear. Right?
Yes.
You're never going to, it's always going to be present. And sometimes it's going to beat the shit out of you. And you're going to be like, I don't think I have any desires today. I'm just all fear.
Right,
okay.
Think about how many times you hear that in this world, is like no fear. I mean, I know like it's generally more like sports stuff, but it's also like this motivational, weird sort of alt-right pipeline, motivational alpha male bullshit. Like it's all like no fear, like no fear. No fear. We want fear. You need
fear is good. Yeah.
You need some fear. Yes. You have to stay alive. Your brain, if you're living with no fear, you're literally like turning your brain off. Your central nervous system is going to go fucking haywire.
Yeah, because you're just ignoring a part of yourself.
Exactly. You're ignoring this vital part of yourself to keep you safe.
Right.
And so you're immediately like smashing the scales out of balance.
Yeah.
Like you need fear. I'm not saying like cower through your life. Please, you know us better than that. We're not saying that. But like there has to be some safety. Yes. Humans have to feel safe.
Yes.
Not just physically, yes, obviously, but like emotionally safe. You have to feel safe in your life and in your goals and your plans. Like you have to feel safe, and that's your ego's job. That's fear's job.
Yeah, imagine going for a goal or trying to make something happen or manifest something in your life, and imagine doing that thing really afraid the whole time.
Yeah.
And then imagine doing that thing less afraid, and then imagine doing that thing a little less afraid, and then imagine doing it without any fear.
Right.
Both ends of the spectrum are terrible.
Right.
The middle is what you're looking for.
Yes.
And on some days you're going to crush it, and on some days the same thing that you crushed the day before, you're not.
Right.
That's okay. It's data, like you said. It's honoring that and going, oh, this is where I am.
Right.
And trying not to let shame come in and say, well, you're feeling too much fear today. You're supposed to feel all those things.
Right.
Exactly. And in the height of irony, when people are saying no fear, they are doing that from a fear-based place because they're afraid of being afraid.
Exactly. That's like killing the ego.
Yeah.
It's because you're afraid to look into why you're afraid of things. You're just trying to cut that voice off, that factor in your life.
Yeah.
When you actually just need to look at it and see, why do you feel scared? Why is this scary to me?
Yeah.
Why do I feel weird right now? Why am I triggered right now? Look into it, figure it out.
Yes. And
that actually takes a lot more courage, by the way.
That's bravery.
That's brave.
Yeah, that's brave to sit and to honor that.
To sit and feel it and look into it and not just be like, oh, no fear. Balls to the wall. Oh, no, I live. Balls to the wall.
What? I 100% agree. And you know what? It's also okay to like have limits.
Yes.
I'm going to say this sentence. I almost didn't say this because it's like kind of an embarrassing sentence.
Oh,
it's like the most woo-hoo sentence that will be said in all the world today.
What?
Okay. I was talking to my acupuncturist about a retreat she went to.
Yes. I'm sure you were.
Okay. I was. This is true. I feel like it sounds so pretentious, but that's true. I was doing that.
It does sound a little pretentious.
It does, but it's true.
Okay, go ahead.
See why I almost didn't say it?
Yeah.
Okay. The context of this I think is good. Besides
Your
the pretension.
acupuncturist is like legit. She's awesome.
She's wonderful.
Like
Shout out to Amy from A to Zen Wellness.
Yeah, she doesn't wear like caftans and like.
No, she could though, and I'd still go because she's amazing. Yeah,
she's cool.
Yeah. Okay. So I've also known her a long time.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we were talking about this retreat that she was at, and she said, I know my limits, and I said, I know mine too. I just have trouble honoring them. And then we both looked at each other with that like, ooh, you know, and like you kind of say something without realizing it's like oddly, powerfully true.
Yes.
So I just want to say it's all of that's good. Knowing your limits is great. And then there's honoring your limits. Like you don't have to smash every limit you have. You don't have to go like, hey, you know, like for me, a limit would be like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of one.
I know it's hard now.
So I'll tell you a quick example. My husband was showing me a thing that his brother is currently doing where he's like literally backpacking through Spain and Portugal and like staying in like hotels and bed and breakfast and hostels.
Wow,
and it's for 3 weeks. It's very cool, right?
That's super cool.
And I thought like, I would love to do that, but there's so many limits for me in that.
Yes.
But I wish I wasn't that.
You're really built for that.
No, but there's parts of it where it's like outside and walking, like that's me.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. But then like also going to like, it doesn't have to be a luxury hotel, but like a Ramada. Yeah. With a free breakfast buffet.
Yeah,
like,
right, yeah. Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, yes. I don't want to sleep on the side of the road. I don't want to go to the bathroom outside if I don't have to. I wish that wasn't the case, but I know those are my limits is the point. So like maybe I do that someday, but I'm not going to go, I'm going to do that tomorrow because I got to bust these limits. I'm going to go like, maybe I try like 2 days of something like that and see what it's like.
Right.
Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it isn't always like, here's a limit. Let me murder it.
Exactly. Right.
I mean, we had Megan from Naked and Afraid on, remember? And I just, the whole time I just was like, that's amazing. I could never do it. And she was like, yes, you can. And I was like, no, I know my limits and I can honor them. And honoring them is like pushing through them a little bit, but also not killing yourself as you do it.
But that's the whole point of this episode is that like the feeling that Megan got doing that.
Yes.
Was the motivation for her and was worth the fear and the resistance and pushing through the limit and getting on the other side of it. What you would get from that wouldn't be worth it.
No.
Because you're different people with different bodies and brains and life experiences and nervous systems and a million different things. Everyone's different.
Right.
So that the outcome, the reward wouldn't be the same for you.
Yes, because you have to be in touch with your own desires.
Right.
Yes.
You can look at someone like Megan and be like, God, it's fucking badass. Like,
I think it all the time. Every time I see her, I say how blown away I am by it. And it doesn't mean like, oh, I wish I could do it.
It doesn't have to be your thing. It can be her cool thing. It doesn't have to be your cool thing.
And I can wish that my limits were different, that it would allow me to do such a cool thing. We both love the show Alone. I just watched Alone Australia season 2. I just finished it last night.
Is it out?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay. I just finished it. And it's like, I love that. You and I both are like critical. Like we absolutely have any idea what we're talking about or could do any of it. We're like, why don't you fish? Why don't you build your shelter? Like but we both know.
No.
We aren't doing that. We can't. That's a limit, but I love it. Like you can like stuff and think it's cool, but you don't have to do it.
Because what you love about it is watching someone else experience those feelings of attaining that desire.
Exactly.
I wouldn't feel that way out in the woods of anywhere.
Plus it would just be 2 people who died on the show for the first time. And like nobody wants that, so we shouldn't go.
Right. But like you're actually looking for the feeling. You're looking to feel how free Megan feels.
Yes. And like that can be achieved in something else.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. 100%. Along the same vein of Alone. I know we like to talk about it because we love the show. But I just want to say that even in a survival situation where literally the goal of that show is to survive.
Yes.
Okay. And you can throw out caring about a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. I've never watched a contestant on that show. I mean, like extremely talented survivalists do it without shame.
Well, that's interesting.
My point is like, you don't even get to skip it there where you're like, you know what? I just need to survive here. They're still feeling shame. they're talking about it. They're dealing with it the whole time. In fact, when it's quiet and you don't have people to talk to and things to think about, it's really fucking loud.
Exactly. That's when they start having all of these like they start processing all of their trauma and their life and their experiences because like you have to sit in it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a really good point.
Okay. One thing that I just have a couple more points here, but one thing I want you to think about is your answer to this question. Mm-hmm. And it's, what's hard for you to accept around moving towards desires? Mm-hmm. What's hard to accept? So for a lot of people, it's like they have trouble just accepting that they want the thing. Mm-hmm. I hear a lot of people apologize for wanting what they want.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
So why? And again, it's not judging you for it. It's going like, what is the part that's hard for you, like about moving towards this?
Yeah.
Or if you said, I know exactly what I want and I'm so excited about it, but I'm just having trouble starting. Starting what part? Starting why? Where is it? That's golden information for you.
I'm afraid of like failing or people seeing me fail.
Yeah. And then that's data, like you said, with the fear that you can use. You can make a plan that honors that fear. Maybe you don't tell anyone. Keep the fucking goal to yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what I do.
Yeah, you see that on the social medias too, like move in silence. Like don't put it out there.
Tell a couple people who aren't going to judge your timeline or if you do it or base anything about your worth on it, and then keep the rest of it to yourself. It's powerful. Or just tell little pieces of it.
Yeah, and also like not every thing that you decide that you want and that you're going to work towards, not every single thing is supposed to come to fruition.
No.
Like I know this sounds stupid and it's super annoying when you're living it in the moment, but like sometimes the journey, sometimes the failure, sometimes all that stuff is actually where you learn and grow the most.
Yeah.
Like how many, like, come on. Like,
come on.
As a 45-year-old woman, I can now say this. Like, how many things in my life have I wanted to do or be, or how many places have I wanted to live or had these goals that I thought were exactly what I wanted. I had to make them happen and manifest them. And now I look back on them and like, I didn't actually want that.
Yes, and we're going to talk about this in the next episode too, and it's so powerfully true because people don't like this truth. So I'm going to say, take a breath while we explain it to you. But that's saying like it's not about the destination, it's the journey. It is true.
So corny, but it's true.
It is, but it's also important to have a destination, but just not be too attached to it.
Yes.
Because there are so many things that I went to in a straight line, and then just because I was moving.
Correct.
It wasn't about the direction. Like I've said a million times, there's no right path or wrong path. Yeah. It's just the fact that you didn't stay stagnant, because as a human, that's not how we're designed. Correct. Okay, I don't mean, it's not a shame thing. It's like I said, it's a cyclical thing where you're stagnant and moving. But like if you're not desiring new things, there's something going on that is off balance for you. Okay, but it's about moving, because you'll end up the place that you I don't want to say like you're supposed to be, like you're fated there or something, but you'll end up how you, like in the place you want to feel, because the universe has better ideas than you of how to feel the way you want to feel.
Yes.
Also, the thing, if you want the same exact verbatim things you wanted 5 years ago, there's a lack of growth going on for some reason.
Right. And all of the experiences of being on those journeys of places where you never really wound up.
Yeah.
You're collecting more data and you're collecting life experiences and you're learning more about yourself so that like even if you don't get to that end goal, you're still learning and growing so that you can be on this like this right path. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're still pouring in the cup.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like so you're still it's just that like the road is actually longer than you think it is.
Yeah.
Because like you just said, I just have to tell this story.
Do it. I don't know what it is.
This literally happened to me yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yesterday at work, at this job that I manifested that I didn't know I wanted, which was on the longer road than I thought I would ever be on, right?
Yep.
Like I had all these life things. I wanted this, that, and that. And now I'm like, the road is extended and I'm here in this job that I love.
It's better than you would have imagined.
Truly.
Yeah.
And I was at this job and someone said to me, I know you're really into manifesting, Jamie.
Mhm.
And I was like,
This is going to go somewhere interesting. Yeah.
And she said, it just always takes so long.
Mm.
And she was talking about like winning the lottery and having more money and stuff. And I said to her, the hard part about this is that you don't know as much as the universe does.
Yeah.
Like with our stupid human brains,
Yeah.
we think like, oh, the answer is just winning the lottery. I can do whatever I want if I win the lottery. But like,
Yep.
if you actually just walk the course of it, the universe is going to end up lining you up, and
Yeah.
you might not even realize you're there.
Which is exactly why it's more important when you're manifesting, if you want to do it faster, to be
Right.
manifesting
The
feelings
exactly,
rather than the thing. Because
that's what I said to her. I'm like, you have to figure out how you want to feel, not like
and
what
the lottery
result
is the perfect example, because let's say that's your goal,
Right.
which also, like, the lottery is fun. I'm not shaming your goal.
absolutely.
But if you were attached to how you wanted to feel because you wanted to win the lottery,
Mhm.
I bet the things you're going to say are like freedom and financial security and the ability to have more adventures. You're going to say shit like that.
Yes,
Which
it's
is-
not right. It's not going to be like, I want X dollars, like
Exactly.
you know.
But then let's say you had a researcher's brain like me,
Mhm.
and you went and researched how people felt after they won the lottery. How many of them do you think, just guess the percentage,
Ooh,
feel those ways?
not as much as I would like you to say.
It's probably like 8%. Because I remember that show that used to be on, like,
Yes.
I won the lottery.
Yes.
I feel like TLC or something like
Of
that.
course it was. And their lives were ruined.
All of them.
Yes, I know.
The only people that I've ever seen say that they did well winning the lottery are people who didn't tell anybody.
Mm,
So what does that tell you?
exactly.
So again, I got to acknowledge, because I'm going to talk about this in a minute, like, money does make everything better.
Yes.
100%. But like, if you're attached to why you want it and the feelings you want to have,
Yes.
it's going to be easier, because you're like, this is how, especially as a person who loves control and like it really had to do like 10 years of work to be like, I don't control everything.
Yes.
Like, I'm not exaggerating.
I
Like,
know.
I literally still have to deal with it all the time.
Yes.
But like, to really let go and be like, I can't, that's not keeping me safe, because
Yeah.
it's not true.
Right.
Like, so move on, lady. Okay.
Right.
So coming from her,
Right. Yes.
you can't say like, this is the exact way I want to have the outcome of feeling this way,
Mhm.
or contributing to the world, or whatever. Okay.
Mhm.
You have to say something more along the lines of like, I want to feel like this. Hey, universe, a suggestion that I think could be cool would be like winning the lottery. So I'm going to try that. But like, however we can feel that way,
Do it
great.
this way.
That's going to work.
Exactly.
Okay. But you also can't not have any plan. Like, you have to
Right.
find that middle of like, this is what I want to feel. These are the ways I'm going to start to create movement towards it. And I'm going to be really observing and in the moment and like led by my feelings and my intuition of which way to go.
Right.
It's just about moving. Right?
Exactly.
Okay. One last thing to say.
Yeah.
You're gonna like this one.
Okay.
Okay. There's a couple elements that have to be said that sometimes I assume everybody knows that we feel,
Okay.
but I don't want to do that.
Okay.
Okay. The first is that when you start to go into the next episode, when we're telling you what to do, please understand that everyone needs to do this differently, because neurodiversity is a thing, and it's not laziness, and there is not one way to do all of it.
No.
That's why we want you to know how you operate and how you
works.
feel, because the way the two of us humans right here executive function is so wildly different that if we tried to do something following the same plan, one of us
Never
would
work.
succeed and the other one would fail.
Correct.
100% of the time. So please honor that in yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why that's why the 10 steps don't work. It's because you can't write a 10-step program or whatever course or retreat or whatever that works for everybody.
Exactly.
You can't write that. It has to be contingent upon you and your body and your life experiences and your neurodiversities and all of that stuff. It makes up this ball of a human that you are.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can have a framework, which is what the next episode's going to be.
Yes.
But like, we can't write it out for you.
And if you're doing a program,
Mm-hmm.
keep asking yourself, am I constantly being told to look within about how stuff feels and what works good for me?
Right.
Or am I constantly being told what should?
Yes.
If you're being told what should, get out.
Yeah, and if you constantly are feeling ashamed of like,
Yeah.
well, I don't do it that way, or my brain doesn't work like that, or I don't feel like that, it's the wrong course.
Yes, exactly. And hello, that's shame-based. So
Exactly.
red flag, right?
Right.
Okay. The other part that I want to acknowledge is that in order to even have the ability to sit and go, what do I feel and what do I want to be different? And let me get my life unstuck. You have to have a lot of privilege.
100%.
So
100%.
it really bothers me when there's this, again, this like build and achieve and like, why aren't you doing these things? Because it's so wrapped in all different kinds of privilege, right? Like, so it's important to acknowledge that.
Yes.
And that like my example of like, maybe you just want to garden more. That's like a very privileged thing to want to be able to do.
You just said that as an example.
I did, but like I'm just pointing out that like a lot of times I hear people where I believe their intentions are really good in like trying to inspire people to grow.
Well, they don't realize how privileged they are.
Yeah, and there's not the acknowledgement of that. Because go ahead.
If you're so broke that you can't pay the bills,
you don't know if you can put food on the table.
Your brain is not going to allow you to sit and think about what goals and dreams do I have to aspire to.
Let me become more comfortable with the word desire.
Your brain is literally just trying to keep you alive.
Yeah.
So like you need to respect that. Like you have to respect that about your body. Don't shame yourself and be like, I can't get my shit together. I don't know what things I desire in this world. Like that's all capitalistic programming.
Yes.
That we have to like be aware it lives in our bodies and our brains. So like I just want people to understand.
Yeah. One form of that I've been noticing a lot lately is it's really evident to me because I mean, I wasn't like a baby when I had my children, but amongst the most of the people that I'm surrounded with, like as far as like my kids go or other things, their children are younger.
Same.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Same.
Like age wise, it's very different.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm doing things and people, for example, most of the people I'm with have young children.
Yes.
Okay. And they'll say to me something like, how do you find the time to do that?
Right.
How do you do that? And I think, well, the privilege of the fact that my children are teenagers.
Right, exactly.
That
so you don't have to watch them all the time.
Yeah, like you're shaming yourself because you couldn't find time to exercise and you have like a 2-year-old.
Correct.
And you're comparing yourself to me has a 14 and a 16-year-old.
Right.
Like what? That's privilege.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like that is also a privilege. So my point is that like it's wrapped in so many different things and we shame ourselves by comparing and we also like ignore the fact that people are coming from different circumstances. And I hate that. So again, I didn't want to assume that people know we honored that, but we do.
Oh, we definitely do.
We do.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to stop here. We'll be back next week. Yay.
Yes.
With part 2, where we're actually going to say like, this is like the action part. This is what you do to like now go do it. But I actually think it might be good to have like a day or two at least. This will be a week if you're listening when it comes up, but like to process and deal with it and just notice it in your life. Just be walking around noticing it.
Right.
But you can start to think of the things that you want to move towards and how you want to get unstuck. But notice how this is playing a part.
Exactly.
All right. I think we need, you have a coffee right there, but I need some. So let's go get some.
Okay.